Hello students, welcome back to the class 6th science class. Today we are starting our chapter 5 which is separation of substances. Chapter at a glance, pure substance, solution and solubility, classification of mixture, methods of separation, separation by using more than one method, impure substance, mixture, need for separation of constituent of mixture, water as a solvent. Engage. Look at the picture and suggest a method or a thing you would use to separate the items in the given pictures. Pure substance. A single substance of a definite composition is called a pure substance. Impure substance, a substance in which some other substances are also present in smaller amounts, is called an impure substance. Impure substances contain certain impurities. Impurities present in any substance may change one or more properties of the substance. Difference between pure substance and mixture. Pure substance consists of particles of only one kind. For example, all elements and compounds are pure substances. Mixture consists of two or more types of particles. For example, sugar solution is a mixture of sugar and water. The composition of pure substance is the same throughout. The composition is not the same throughout. Pure substances have a definite melting point, boiling point and density. For example, the freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius and boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. A mixture has no definite physical properties such as boiling point, melting point, density, etc. Solution and solubility. A solution is a homogeneous mixture of a solvent and a solute. The solvent is the substance present in greater amount. The solute is the substance present in lesser amount. If both components in a solution are 50%, the term solute can be assigned to either component. When gas or solid materials dissolves in a liquid, the gas or solid material is called the solute. When two liquids dissolve in each other, the major component is called the solvent and the minor component is called solute. Many chemical reactions carried out in solutions and solutions are also closely related to our everyday lives. The air we breathe, the liquids we drink and the fluids in our body are all solutions. Distillation. The process in which evaporation and condensation go on side by side is called distillation. Condensation is the process of converting gas or vapor into liquid. Condensation is opposite of evaporation. Condensation takes place only when water vapor hits a cold surface. Distillation is used to separate two miscible liquids having different boiling points or vapor pressure. Purify a liquid by removing solid impurities. In the process of distillation, a solution is heated till the liquid starts evaporating. This vapor is condensed to get back the pure liquid. The water obtained after distillation from a solution is called distilled water. Distilled water is used in car batteries and laboratories. Activity. Aim to prepare distilled water in the laboratory. Materials required: a flask, a test tube, a beaker, a U-tube, a stand, tap water, some ice cubes and a Bunsen burner. Procedure. Take a flask fitted with a cork and a U-tuber. Pour tap water in the flask till it is half full. Take some cold water in the beaker and place the test tube in it. Set up the apparatus in such a way that the flask is kept on a stand and the free end of the U-tube is inside the test tube. Heat the flask using the Bunsen burner till the water starts boiling. The steam formed passes through the U-tube into the test tube that is kept in cold water. Since the test tube is cold, the steam condenses to form water. Observation. The water formed in the test tube is distilled water. Conclusion. Distillation is used to separate impurities from the water. Mixture. Materials which contain two or more substances in any proportion are called mixtures. Thus, any mixture contains two or more different kinds of particles. A mixture may be a solid, a liquid or a gas. The various substances present in a mixture are called its components or constituents. For example, in a mixture containing sugar and sand are called the constituents of this mixture. Each constituent of a mixture retains its properties. Classification of mixtures. All mixtures can be divided broadly into two categories, heterogeneous and homogeneous. Heterogeneous mixture. A mixture is heterogeneous when its various components are not uniformly spread throughout the mixture and each part of the mixture show different properties. Components of a heterogeneous mixture can be seen by naked eye or through a magnifying glass. For example, a mixture of sand and iron fillings. In this image, you can see a heterogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixtures. A mixture is homogeneous when its various components are uniformly spread throughout the mixture and each part of the mixture has some properties. In this image, you can see a homogeneous mixture. Components of a homogeneous mixture cannot be seen by naked eye or through a magnifying glass. For example, a mixture or salt and water is a homogeneous mixture. Need for separation of constituent of mixture. There are various reasons to separate the components of a mixture. First, to remove undesirable components. When we eat a banana or orange, we peel off its skin. Thus, in this way, we remove undesirable part and separate the eatable part from the uneatable part. Small pieces of stones and undesirable seed grains are removed from rice and dals before cooking. The useless pieces of stones and seed grains are thrown away to remove useless or harmful components. Suspended impurities and bacteria are removed from water before drinking because impure water is very harmful for our health. Salt is removed from seawater for making it fit for drinking as seawater is harmful for health. To obtain useful components. Crude oil taken out from the earth is a mixture of various components such as petrol, diesel, petroleum gas, etc. These components are very useful for running vehicles. To obtain pure samples of a substance. Pure substances are needed for a variety of purposes. For example, certain metals used in electronic circuits require a high degree of purity. Pure copper is needed for making electric wires. Methods of separation. There are many methods of separating mixtures depending upon the nature of the desirable and undesirable constituents. To separate constituents of a mixture, a property of one of the constituents which the other constituent does not have is used. For example, in a mixture of iron fillings and sand, iron filling can be separated by using its magnetic property. Sand is non-magnetic in nature, so a magnet can be used to attract and pull out the iron fillings from the mixture. The sand particles would stay behind. Handpicking. The method of separating a mixture into its component by hand is called handpicking. Stones and husks can also be separated from the rice by using the method of handpicking. So we can conclude that the method of handpicking can be used to separate only mixtures in which the components are mixed in small components, can be easily picked by hand, have different size, shape or color. Sieving. A sieve is usually a plate with many holes or gauze with holes of a specific size. The size of holes of a sieve depends on the size of the particles to be separated from the mixture. This method is used when the mixture had substances of different sizes. A sieve with very fine hole is used to separate undesirable substance from flour, and a sieve with bigger holes is used to separate stones from the sand. Winnowing. Winnowing can be used when a mixture of small light particles and heavy particles are to be separated. In this method, the light particles can be blown off by air, while the heavy particles will be left behind. This method is widely used by the farmers to separate husk from grain. The husk is blown away by the wind when the mixture of husk and grain is released from a height. The husk forms a heap at a distance away from the heap of grains. You will observe this process of winnowing at flour mill atta chakki, the process of winnowing is only applicable when the weight of one particle of a substance is very less than the particle of other substance. If both are quite heavy or almost same weight, we can use another method. Threshing. The process of separating grains from the stalks is called threshing. It can be done in the following three ways: by beating the stalks with sticks on the ground, by allowing animals like bullocks to trample the stalks, by using machines. Machines are generally used in large fields. Sedimentation. Sedimentation is the process in which heavier particles of an insoluble solid in a liquid settle down. If a mixture of sand and water is allowed to stand undisturbed for some time, the sand solid will settle down as sediment. The water liquid forms a clear layer at the top. This layer can be removed without disturbing the sand at the bottom by a process called decantation. Decantation. Decantation is the removal of the clear layer of the liquid without disturbing the settled solids. Loading. During sedimentation, the heavier coarse particles settle down quickly. Fine particles of clay settle down very slowly. The finer particles can be made to settle faster by dissolving a small quantity of alum in muddy water. This method is called loading. When alum is added to muddy water, the finer particles get loaded with alum particles and form larger aggregates. This makes them to settle down faster. Filtration. The process by which two substances, an insoluble solid and a liquid, are separated by passing the mixture through a filtering device is called filtration. Filtration is commonly used in our homes. For example, after preparing tea, we filter out the tea leaves using a strainer. Filtration is also done to remove pulp from fresh fruit juice. Water may also contain solid impurities which can be removed by filtration. During the filtration, the insoluble solid is retained in the filtering device, whereas the liquid passes through it. It is important that the particles of the filtering device It is important that the particles of the insoluble solid are bigger than the holes in the filtering device for them to be retained in it. A filter paper is a filtering device that has very fine pores in it. Churning. This method is used for separating lighter particles of a solid suspended in a liquid. For example, butter can be obtained by churning curd obtained from full-fat milk. Cream can be obtained from unboiled milk by churning. Churning can be done by hand using a stirrer or by using a mixture commonly called mixie. Evaporation. Evaporation is the process in which we separate dissolved solids from a liquid. This method is widely used to obtain common salt from sea water. The process of converting liquids into its vapor on heating below the boiling point of liquid is called evaporation. Removal of salt or obtaining salt from filtrate. Transfer the filtrate into a beaker and heat it over Bunsen burner. In a few minutes, water evaporates, leaving behind the common salt. Method used evaporation. So we have used three different methods to separate a mixture of iron fillings, sand and common silt. Activity. Take a pot of boiling water and add table salt. Stir to make a water salt solution. Continue adding salt until no more salt dissolves in the solution. This is a saturated solution. Now add 1 final teaspoon of salt. The salt that will not dissolve will help the first step in crystallization to begin. The salt resting bottom of the top will provide a base for crystallization. Water as a solvent. Water can dissolve many kinds of substances. That is why water is commonly called as universal solvent. There are, however, many substances which do not dissolve in water. The substances which dissolve in water are called soluble in water. Those which do not dissolve in water are called insoluble in water. A liquid substance that dissolves in water completely in all proportions is called miscible with water. For example, alcohol is miscible with water. A liquid substance that does not dissolve in water and forms a separate layer is called immiscible with water. For example, oils are immiscible with water. Knowledge basket. Scientists separate many liquid mixtures using chromatography. The mixture is dissolved in a liquid or a gas to make a solution. The solution is put on a solid material and the substances that dissolve most easily travel farthest up the solid material. The separated substances from bands of color called chromatograms. Food scientists study chromatograms to discover which colorings a food contains. Separation by using more than one method. Many times separation of a constituents of a mixture requires more than one method of a separation. Let us understand this with the following steps. To separate a mixture of iron fillings, sand and common salt. Now we will use different methods to separate the constituents of the mixture. First, removal of iron fillings. Spread the mixture on a paper and roll a powerful horseshoe magnet in it. Scrape off the iron fillings from the magnet in a china dish. Repeat the procedure until no iron fillings are left in the mixture. Method used magnetic separation. Number 2. Removal of sand. Dissolve the mixture in water. The salt dissolves in it but the sand does not. Filter the mixture. The sand is left on the filter paper. The clear common salt solution is collected as a filtrate. Method used filtration. Solubility. The maximum amount of a substance dissolved in a given volume of solvent is called its solubility. Often the solubility of water is expressed in gram 100 milliliter. A solution that has reached the maximum solubility is called a saturated solution. It means you can no longer add solute to the solution. Solutes can be separated from a saturated solution by the method of crystallization. Crystallization refers to a separation of solid solute crystals from a homogeneous solution. This phenomenon is used for the commercial manufacture of salt. Tech Talk. Uranium from seawater. Nuclear power will be crucial for future low-carbon energy generation. Although the trajectory of the nuclear industry is uncertain at current consumption rates, known geological reserves of uranium 4.5 million tons may last a century. More than 4 billion tons of uranium exist in seawater at part per billion levels. Scientists have sought ways to separate uranium from seawater containing amido oxime groups. But these molecular cages also capture other metals including vanadium, cobalt and nickel. Moral learned. Like substances separate themselves from each other to obtain new and purified substances, we humans should also distance ourselves from selfish and dishonest people and wrong ways to become successful so that we can always remain in our original form and always work for the betterment of the society. Recapitulation. Materials which contain two or more substances in any proportion are called mixture. Mixtures are of two types, homogeneous and heterogeneous. The removal of components of a mixture is called separation. Solid mixture can be separated by hand picking, sublimation, winnowing, threshing, and magnetic separation. Insoluble solid mixtures can be separated by sedimentation and decantation, loading, and filtration. Solubility of most substances increases with increase in temperature. So, thank you class. Let's meet again in the next chapter.